Ladies and gentlemen, I finished the 70.3 Ironman Louisville almost 2 weeks ago. It was one of the hardest things I ever done in my life. The run was absolutely miserable in a way. And today I want to share with you guys how was it and some of the lessons that I have learned not only on the day of the race but after the race. It took me almost a week and a half to recover completely and then get back to training. I still have a little bit of pain in my on my groin because of the hernia that I had, and I shared that with you guys. But you know, it was good. It was good, and I can't wait to get back to training and do another one. Honestly, so I'm gonna share with you guys how was it, and then I'm gonna tell you guys some of the lessons that I've learned. It took me a while to meditate a little bit on that, but I think it will provide a lot of good insights for you guys. This episode is sponsored by CaliforniaAvocadosDirect.com, delivering rich, creamy, hand-picked avocados straight from a family farm in Escondido, California, to your door. No middleman, no mass storage, just farm fresh quality you can taste and trust. Packed with healthy fats, potassium, and fiber, it's the kind of real fuel high performance need, whether you're grinding on the field or recovering from it. Use the code The Athletic School for 10% off of your first box at CaliforniaAvocadosDirect.com. I left Cincinnati on Saturday, got there, went to check in, everything new to me. It was extremely hot. Checked in and actually didn't do as much. Just left my bike there and just went back to the hotel, went out to eat and tried to eat and carb load as much as I could. At that point, there's not much more you can do. I was gonna, and drive around actually to see a little bit of the course, but I just didn't want to spend time thinking about it too much. I think 7 hours doing the event was enough. So, I wasn't nervous or anything. In the morning, I woke up like around 4:30 on that Sunday. I ate a breakfast vegan burrito that I had, uh, got some yogurt, drank as much water as I could. Didn't want to overdo it. So, yeah. And then met a guy on the hotel. We walked there together. Everything was fine. I set everything down, and then I decided to walk to the swimming part of it because I figured, I wasn't gonna warm up, so that would be my warm up. I didn't want to take the bus or anything like that, so I just walked. There's a lot of people walking. Everything was pretty smooth actually. And then I got there, end up meeting a Brazilian, and and the first thing for me was like I met some people and they were like, "Oh, have you done any other triathlons before?" I was like, "No, this is my first one." And they always made a face, like, it's probably not a good idea to start with a half Ironman. But I mean, I was there. I wasn't gonna take any type of negativity or anything like that. I believed in the training in the work that I was putting in, even though I was in pain, and that was a concern that I had. But at that point, I'm like, look, it is what it is. Yes, I am doing an Ironman, my first triathlon. Quick break before we get back to the show. First of all, thank you so much for listening to the Athletic School podcast. It means the world to me. Second, in whatever platform you might be listening to this, if you could hit that follow or subscribe button, that would mean the world to me as well. It's just the beginning, but it already feels like something special. And if you do that, I promise you that with all my energy, I'll bring the best guest speaker as possible, and I'll keep sharing all the lessons I have learned through this journey to make you a better person on and off the field. Now, let's get back to the show. So, got there. There's like a huge line, and you kind of like have to decide on what your timing is for the swim. So I kind of got stuck on the 50 and 55 minutes because there's so many people, and I was like, that's fine. I don't know. I have no idea how it's going to be. so I'm just gonna stick around here. Had to wait a little bit. Got in the water. The water was actually warm, so it was in the Ohio River. It wasn't too bad. It was the swim was okay, and it was just a lot of people, and if you are into triathlon or not, it's a lot of people. I had to dribble a lot of people, got hit a few times. I felt like every time I was getting in a good momentum, I would hit something. Sometimes I would kind of go off stream a little bit and then I had to come back. So that probably had me a few minutes kind of doing that. But I was okay. I didn't have to stop. I didn't have to, swim on my back or anything like that. And I saw a lot of people doing that. So it's funny because you feel like you are the amateur, but there's always people that are less prepared in a way than you, and there's always people that are more prepared than you, and that's normal. But it was fine. I got after the swim. I was very happy because everything went very well. So got after the swim. Didn't want to waste a lot of time. Just wanted to get in the bike because I knew the bike was gonna be long. Got in the bike. And it was fine. It was fine. I got some water. I ate a little bit before in that first T1, the transition, and got in the bike. My watch was pissing me off because I couldn't turn it on for biking, but it was fine. Um, couldn't get water sometimes. I could get water, but on the aid stations that they had, people are handing out to you, and sometimes some people would hand out the water bottle, and it was closed. The cap was closed, so it took me a while, and I couldn't get a lot of water. But honestly, that was the best water I ever had in my life because I was thirsty. I was running out of water and electrolytes on my bike. So that's something definitely that I learned, and I'll definitely take more, figure out a way to take more next time I do that. But a lot of hills, a lot of hills. And it was funny because, my bike is an old bike and people would pass me, and that's fine, it's normal. People would pass you all the time. And people pass me a lot, but every time there was a hill, I would pass these people, and that gave me some extra motivation and boost because I was like, look, it's not about the bike, it's about me. I'm making this. My legs are good, my training is good, I'm strong enough to go up this hill. And it was good. Even when we were going down, when it was extremely fast, I don't have those aero bars or anything like that. So it was good because I was able to find a very good position and go extremely fast. And, even side by side with a guy that had a whatever, like $1,000 bike, I was able to get in front of him, pass a lot of people, a lot of people passed me, but it was good. It was good. Honestly, there was nothing crazy there. But when you got to the run, I took a little bit longer because I wanted to, I had to get off the bike, change shoes, put my hat on, take the helmet off, all those things, and then start running. And it was fine. I saw a lot of people walking the first kilometer and I was feeling okay, but I was like, okay, my first 5 kilometers, I'm gonna chill here and then I'll increase as I can. Well, I couldn't increase anything because it was extremely hard. I was able to keep up a good pace, a decent pace. It was way slower than what I was planning on it. But my biggest thing is a lot of people would walk and they would run, walk and run, walk and run. The entire race, the entire part of the run, I told myself I wasn't gonna walk. I would only walk on the aid stations. That way, I can get more stuff and I have a second to put more stuff in and get more water, get more electrolytes, and eat a banana, things like that. There was a lot of aid stations, which was very, very helpful, but it got to a point that there was a lot of hills. And people were already walking before the hills, but when we got to the hill, it was almost every single person walking. And I simply refused to walk. I refused to walk. Um, the first hills were fine, but it got to a point that like it was hard, and I felt like I was about to cramp out a little bit. so I would get another gel. But I was trying to be careful with my stomach because I didn't want any accidents to happen. So, but the mindset was not to walk. Um, and fasting forward, honestly, I didn't walk, and that was honestly my biggest thing. A lot of people walking. At the end, the last kilometer, I told myself I'm gonna push. And trust me, at this point, I was extremely tired. Everyone was extremely tired. Nobody was running anymore. Everyone was just like slowly jogging would be the fastest one. Of course, all the professionals and everything, they were all gone. So it was only about pushing. The hills were horrible and I was not expecting that many hills. And maybe that's a little bit on me because I didn't make enough research on it, but honestly, I feel like everyone was surprised. And yesterday, I talked to someone, and she told me that that was the most hills she ever got in any Ironman, and she has done plenty. So I guess it's a good thing that was my first one, and maybe the next one I won't have to go up the hill as much. But a mental battle. I talked to myself the whole time because it was hard. It was hard. I had to get ice, it was starting to get hot. Real quick before we get back. As a vegan and a hybrid athlete, what I eat matters. And when it comes to quality, I don't compromise. That's why I have partnered with CaliforniaAvocadosDirect.com. They deliver fresh, hand-picked avocados straight from their family farm to your door. No middleman, no guessing, just real fuel that supports how I train and recover. They even offer subscriptions so you're never running out. And my followers get an exclusive discount code which you can check on the show notes. And big thanks to California Avocados Direct for powering this episode and helping me stay fueled the right way. Now, let's get back into the show. It's crazy because your brain is just telling you to stop and you can't. It's like it's you against your brain in your body because your body is like, man, why are you doing this to me? And then your brain is like, let's just stop. Nobody cares. Everyone else is walking. Why are you not going to walk? So it was a mental battle. I was praying a lot. I was thinking about my mom. I was thinking about my family, and I couldn't wait to almost like get done in Louisville, where the finish line is. There's a lot of people. It's kind of like downtown, so it was a little bit more fun to be there. But honestly, we were in the zone, and there's no way I could, you know, look at things around me. But it was still a very good experience. There's videos of me and like people talking to me, and I never heard them because I was trying to sprint during the entire race. Me and these two guys, we were going back and forth all the time because they would walk and then they would sprint and they would pass me. But then once they walk, I would pass them again. And then at the end, my goal was to pass them and just finish in front of them. And I did it. I did it. It was hard because I was pushing as much as I could, but my pace was not getting better. I was just keeping up the pace. But I was able to pass those two guys, and I know it's not about passing, it's not about winning or anything, but that was the extra motivation that I needed to finish and to finish it strong in a way. And then when it comes to the lessons and some of the things that I learned, it's all mental lessons that I learned. The first thing for me is your mind is stronger than your body. Um, Again, it is a mental battle, but my body was screaming for me to stop, and I was in pain. Uh, and I didn't have any cramps or anything like that, but I felt like I was about to cramp all the time, and I just had to push those thoughts out. It was all about talking to myself and just keep pushing and pushing and pushing. The other thing for me was commitment. Commitment is everything. I promised myself that I was not gonna walk, and it was hard because in the beginning I was like, I didn't want to create the habit of walking every time I needed. So my point was like, I don't want to walk, especially right now at the beginning or at the half of the race. But then when it got to the end, I was like, well, if I walk now, I'll be okay. but I'm so happy and so glad that I was able to stick with my commitment of no walking. So the promise that you make to yourself, promise that I made to myself of no walking, matters more than any circumstances, right? Because your body is going to scream for you to stop, your mind's going to tell you to stop, you're going to see people around you stopping, and it's all about the commitment that you had to yourself. The other thing is discipline beats comfort, because it was a choice. It was a choice of not not to walk. Of course, it proved a little bit of my resilience and not just the fitness, because at that point there's no fitness. There's no fitness at all. It was only about the commitment and the discipline. Um, and I think the biggest thing for me was that I was able to finish with that commitment of not walking. Look, I'm just gonna walk the 8 stations, and once the 8 station is done, I'm gonna start running again. I mean, more like jogging than than running, but still. The other thing for me was that, thinking about it actually after, is limits are just illusions that we have, and I'm sure that if I go back and I ask the people that are running with me, like, do you think you would be able to finish if you didn't, stop and walk? And they probably would say no. But those are just illusions, because we were on the same thing, and some people are probably in a better shape than I was. I passed a lot of people. I got passed a few times on the run, but not a lot. But I passed a lot of people just because I had the mindset that I was not going to walk, and I was gonna jog if I had to jog, and I would go as slow as I had to go, but I would not walk. And I didn't. And I passed a lot of people. So, limits are just things that we have in our mind, and we have to be able to become self aware of those limits that we have and simply throw them away, because they are all in our minds. And if we believe we have those limits, trust me, they're gonna be obstacles. They're gonna become physical obstacles, because limits are illusions in our heads, but because we believe them so much, we believe that they are a real thing, then we create real obstacles in our life, in the physical world. One of the things that the slogan for the Ironman is like anything is possible, and trust me, I mean, it's cliche, but it's true. Anything is possible. There's no such a thing as impossible, so I think the biggest thing for me was the mental battle that I had on that run, because my goal was not to walk and I didn't. My time was not what I wanted to be, because the run was extremely hard for me. I was aiming for around 6 hours and 30 minutes, but I finished 7:05, and the swim was good. The swim was faster than I expected, a little bit faster, but the bike was also good considering everything, the not enough water, my bike not being the best bike in the world, but it got me through. My legs got me through. And I put a lot of training after I bought the bike, and and it paid off. But the run, it was just definitely something else, which it is the hardest part, because you're just so tired, you know. Looking back, it's not about the time, it's not about finishing or anything like that. It was more about sticking to the plan of no fucking walking, and I didn't walk. So take those things to heart, because commitment is everything. If you commit to something, go into the end. Trust that if you want to make it work, you're gonna make it work. You're gonna find yourself. You're gonna find a way to make it. Some people say, like, just move to an apartment that you cannot afford, and you figure out a way to afford. Well, Sure, it's a little bit extreme, but it is true. We figure out. Trust me, you will figure out. So I already told you guys, but you gotta go do something hard. Go do something hard, something that challenges not only your body, but especially your mind, because your mind, it's way stronger than your body. Stay tuned for more.